So jurors today saw some of the Freakoff videos, which is a huge deal. We're going to get into that and the significance of it, but we got to first talk about jurors who are just dropping like flies. So the jurors are dropping like flies. There was a juror who was dismissed formally today, juror number 6, and another juror on the hot seat.
Yeah. Waiting to find out his fate.
We got to talk about juror number 6 because there is something more to this story. So last week, prosecutors said there's a problem with this guy, that he has talked to various people, that he lives in New Jersey, but he told the court when he was selected he lived in the Bronx. And if he lived in New Jersey, he wouldn't be in the jury pool. So what's up with this guy?
Right, and that's why the prosecution made the point to the judge that if he's living in Jersey, he told you one thing, but if he's living in Jersey and he's telling other people it, then he shouldn't be on the jury, because if you live in Jersey, you wouldn't be selected for this case in New York.
So the real implication is that the guy lied to the court to get on the jury.
And in fact, that's what the judge ended up saying right before dismissing juror number 6. He said, due to your lack of candor about where it is you live, there are too many inconsistencies. We have alternate jurors for a reason. And so number 6 gets the boot and alternate juror comes in to watch today's testimony.
Well,
now that's the simple version of it.
It's more complicated.
There's
it is way
I won't
more
say
complicated.
Conspiracy theory version.
I wouldn't call it a conspiracy.
No, I wouldn't. Well, it's a little conspiracy.
This is not a conspiracy. Here's the deal. Here's the deal. The judge let the defense, once the judge said, I'm inclined to boot this guy, the defense said, we want to make arguments to you. And
that was on Friday.
Right, but usually, if a judge feels that somebody's clearly deceptive, you're out. But the defense gave the judge pause, and he said, I want to think about this over the weekend.
I mean, the defense's main argument was that this was going to upset the diversity of the jury.
This guy is he's
black and
Hispanic. He is into 90s hip hop, and the recon that we have is that the defense felt that this guy wasn't necessarily buying the prosecution's arguments.
In other words, there was a better chance that he was going to side with Diddy than with the prosecution.
So then they're saying, and that's why the prosecution came up with this argument to get him off.
Now, here's the problem. This is why I say it's kind of conspiracy theorist. It's a black and white thing. Is the guy, does he live in the Bronx or does he live in Jersey?
It's not black and white.
And if he lives in Jersey,
it's not
then
black
he should not be on the jury. That's
it.
it.
It is not black and white.
Now, you can say that the prosecution is doing it because they don't want a guy who's going to side with Diddy. And I'm sure they don't.
How did he get in the jury pool? He got in the jury pool
because he received a summons. Right.
Well, the summons was clearly sent to the Bronx.
To the Bronx address.
So he has either a wife or a girlfriend, we know. It could be...
Fiancé, I believe, yeah.
It could be that he's kind of living with her, but he has a place in New Jersey too. And it's not as clear where he lives. But if he had no connection to the Bronx, how's he getting a jury summons for that area to appear in court? So there's some reason the federal government sent this dude a jury summons.
I agree with you that it feels like there could have been a little bit more research done to figure out exactly what the story was. Maybe it is that he got the summons when he lived in the Bronx, but by the time he went in for jury selection, he had moved to New Jersey, in which case he should have said that during jury selection, correct? Hold on.
No.
If that were the case, shouldn't
he
he have said that during jury selection? And all I'm saying is that it does seem odd that the judge didn't just do a little bit more research to get the actual answer.
Have you ever gotten a jury summons?
Yes.
How soon after you got the summons did you have to appear in court?
It's usually like a month or two.
Maybe a month. I mean, usually it's like you got to appear in a month.
Believe me, I've gotten lots
I've
of
gotten
them,
so
and
many
it's
of them.
never. I don't get it like you don't get it 3 weeks before you have to go in.
I get it like a month before. And I've
Maybe you
gotten
don't
for
look at your
federal-
mail. I get it. You have people.
No.
I get it. You
I
have
do
people
not
for
have
your
people
mail.
looking
He has
at my
people
mail.
for his mail.
That's-
I don't have
by the
people
way,
for my mail, so I
not
have to
true.
actually look at it.
Not.
Well,
He's just
nobody gets a jury.
talking shit
Nobody
right
gets
now.
a jury summons
No way.
2-3 weeks before
They
they
get
have
it
to
a
go
month
in.
before. Nonetheless, the
Anyway.
guy got a summons, not as clear, and they replaced him with a white guy.
Yeah.
So the judge said
Now,
there's plenty of diversity.
actually, I think we should make this very clear, because I actually didn't even understand this until we were talking about it this morning. The judge doesn't pick; they have alternates. The judge doesn't go, let me just take one.
Right.
When they're put on the jury, they are alternate 1, 2, 3, and they just go in order.
But
So,
they know who one was.
yes,
they-
both sides know who the alternates are.
Who the guys are.
Right. So your point is that the prosecution
I'm
knew
not
that the
even
next
making-
man up was a white guy, so let's kick the black guy off.
Personally, I don't think that this is a racial thing at
Mm-hmm.
all. I don't think this is racial. And to me, fine. It's a white guy, it's a black guy, whatever. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that if it's true that the prosecution felt this guy would be a problem for them, and I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that this guy had to have gotten a jury summons, presumably in the Bronx.
Certainly.
And that complicates it. Okay, there's a second guy.
Second,
guy.
oh, the other juror. That's right. There's another juror who is waiting to find out his fate because he went to the court on Friday and informed the judge about this text message that he had gotten. And he said to the judge that I don't know this number, I don't recognize this number.
But
the text message was a question. It said,
Are you juror number 6?
Right.
The guy that was booted.
Because last week people were already talking about juror number 6 and the fact that he might get booted. So this juror, another juror, not juror number 6, gets this text asking him. So he felt like, look, I better share this with the judge.
Because he didn't recognize the phone number.
Right. So tells the judge, we're told, asks a bunch of questions, wants to get more information. What is this number?
By the way, I think the lawyers were there too.
Yes, lawyers for both sides were there. And they get more information. And whatever answers the judge got back, what we know is that the judge is concerned that this juror is talking to other people outside about the case, about the fact that he is on the case. Because
it's even
why
more,
would someone be asking him,
it's even more specific.
are you juror number 6?
It's specific. What I'm told is that there seemed to be pretty good evidence that this text message that he got with
Was
that
actually
phone
from
number
someone he
was
knows.
someone he knew and was allegedly talking to this guy about the case.
I
which
mean,
he's
it
not allowed to
sounds
do.
like if it's someone he knows, then that person was basically checking in with them to say, all right, I just read about juror number 6.
Were you the guy?
Is that you? Is that you who's getting kicked off? That's a problem.
So it's not unusual. I mean, first of all, this jury was not sequestered.
Right. And so everyone understands that, yes, the jury instructions are that they're not supposed to talk to anybody outside of the court about this. They're not even supposed to talk to their fellow jurors about this until they go in to deliberate. So
but you know the weird thing is that even the judge knows that jurors violate the rules because the judge put a gag order on all the lawyers in the case, the prosecution and the defense. So if you really believe that the jurors aren't going to watch, social media or television or anything else,
then it wouldn't matter.
There's no need for a gag order. The only reason to impose the gag order is the jurors are going to violate the rule and you got to protect against that, which is really kind of crazy when you think about it. But these lawyers, in fact, I have a podcast with Mark Garagos, who is, his daughter is one of the lead lawyers in the case. And he seems to be, although he won't give me a straight answer, is kind of consulting. The gag's on him. So it's sort of like, why are you gagging lawyers if you've told the jury not to look, if you really believe they won't look? Clearly, the judge doesn't
the judge
believe
knows
that.
it happens, but the problem is once it comes to the judge's attention that someone absolutely has done it, now he can't look the other way.
And
I don't know how this juror stays on with the judge knowing this.
So, look, it's harder for the prosecution because if, like, for example, juror number 6 really was kind of doubting the prosecution's case, all it takes is one vote, and there's a hung jury.
Right.
And if there's a hung jury, that benefits the defense because then the defense has watched the entire case the prosecution puts on. And the defense in the second trial has a real advantage over the first. And so the prosecution needs to corral all 12. And so that raises even a bigger issue about juror number 6.
And by the way, I was just remember I know you, I'm sure, read about it while you were gone, that there was a day that the judge threatened to kick Diddy out of his own trial because he was looking in the direction of the jury and nodding, agreeing with his defense attorneys tearing apart the credibility of one of the witnesses. And he was just nodding about it, but he was doing it looking at the jury. I don't know for a fact that it was juror number 6 that he was looking at directly, or if it was any particular juror, but that would be those are one of the things that give the prosecution and the defense an indication of which way jurors might be leaning.
You know why I'm smiling is that I'm just thinking, boy, talk about playing to the jury. All I can think about when I read about this, all I could think about was OJ putting the glove on and showing the jury it doesn't fit, and you're looking at the jury. And so the theatrics sometimes get rewarded. So I think the big deal today is that the jury watched snippets of these Freakoff videos.
They saw a bunch of them. They didn't see a full video. What we're told is they were shown like 30 seconds of several different Freakoffs. Remember, they have all these videos that were recovered, presumably at Diddy's off hard drives that Diddy had,
right.
But and different devices. We know that Cassie had provided some that she had on devices, but they got to see these things, and it was not played for open court. It was literally just on monitors that each juror got to see. They had headphones on. Even the attorneys on both sides, they didn't see it in open court. So just for the jury. What we're told by people in the courtroom is that our producer is in the courtroom and said that a lot of the guys were watching intently, but not necessarily creepily, but watching it, you know, wanting to see what's going on here. There weren't any audible gasps or anything. Everybody.
This jury has been so impassive the entire trial that it's so hard to read them. But I gotta say, the importance of the Freakoff videos, it's not just to be salacious. One of the things they're going to be looking at is Cassie and seeing, you know, is she
into it?
Is she into it?
Right.
And, you know, that's what the defense is arguing. The prosecution is saying behind the scenes, there was plenty of pressure, plenty of coercion.
Right. And they talked about it when she was testifying.
Right.
Because I think, obviously, they knew that these videos are going to be played. They certainly recognized that jurors are going to be looking at that, and that's why they had Cassie address that, saying that, yes, I did it, but I was doing it because I was pressured, because he was threatening me, and that this was all I was in his life, was the thing to be brought out for Freakoffs, and that he never did anything to help my career. This goes to whether or not Diddy was trafficking her, and the jurors got to see this whole thing play out in the Freakoffs.
It could also go to racketeering if she was extorted.
Right.
But I got to say, just days after the trial began, the testimony began, they showed the prosecution showed jurors still images of a few Freakoffs, and it's interesting because we're now close to the end of the prosecution's case, and they chose to show these videos at the end rather than the beginning. A lot of people thought they'd show it at the beginning to kind of set the stage, but in a way, it's certainly more dramatic. And
yes,
and drama is a part of litigation, trying a case, and it is more dramatic when you have all the testimony in the backdrop than to suddenly show what everybody's been talking about.
What they've been waiting for, really, because they were told during jury selection, right, you are going to see videos, you are going to see photos, are going to be graphic of graphic sexual content. So now they got to see it.
Now, we can't, at least personally, I can't say who's a winner and who's a loser in this because it all depends on how the jury receives it. And if we could get some kind of a noticeable reaction from jurors,
Right.
that would be one thing. But they are so impassive.
What's interesting is even if there had been, so let's say that there was a gasp, we still wouldn't know. We wouldn't know what they were gasping at.
Right.
Which
It's
in a
hard
way
to
would be worse than we'd all sit there going, well, wait, what happened on that video?
Right. But it is really hard to read this. I mean, look, everybody has opinions about this. There are 12 people in a box who are going to decide this case, and they view it differently. I'm telling you, jurors view it differently because, for the most part, they really try and follow the evidence, follow the law. I know that sounds Pollyanna, but it's true. They really do. Not always, but often they really try and follow it, and they don't have that kind of passion or, kind of point of view that everybody else has from on the outside.
Right. They're looking, this is their job. This is their job every day, and they're taking it seriously. So they're not going to have the same view that you do, hearing bits and pieces throughout the day.
But also,
which could be good or bad.
When we say they, there may not be a they here. It may be split. We don't know. I mean, it could be they all feel the same way, or 5 feel one way and 7 feel a different way, or 2 don't have any point of view. You don't know.
I was just thinking, if you're the alternate number 1 who got to actually participate today. All the alternates are watching and hearing all the testimony and taking their own notes. But your first day, where you're actually on the jury,
you're watching Freakoff.
You're watching Freakoff.
Yeah.
So
it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
I guess I signed up for this. Okay, we will see you tomorrow.